What's a video game you enjoyed that most people disliked? Anyone remember True Crime, Streets of LA? It seemed like a very love or hate game and I absolutely loved it. I liked how the story would branch out depending on what you did in certain missions. The martial arts were fun too. I remember the gun combat feeling kinda flat though. You have the right to soak in your own urine. Yeah, the gun play was a little arcadey, and all I really appreciated was blowing away a fleeing suspect in slow motion. Good fights though. Check out Sleeping Dogs if you like that. Turok, that late 2000s remake. BioShock 2. I know people don't consider the story to be as impactful as the first one, but the gameplay is way more polished. Also, I get to use a fucking drill as a weapon. That is sweet. Not sure if it's really hated, but Star Fox Adventures could be considered the black sheep of its series. Is it a good Star Fox game? No, since you're almost never in the R-Wing. But damn, is it a good furry Zelda clone. Still one of my favorite games all these years later, there's just something super charming about it. Shadow the Hedgehog, don't get me wrong, that game has issues, but overall I still had fun with it and would love to see a sequel that learns from the mistakes of the first game. COD Ghosts. Fun game. Like, shitty, but fun. Fallout 4. Yeah, dialogue trees weren't as varied as the predecessors, but the game was fantastic. My Melee playthrough is one of the stupidest and most enjoyable RPG experiences I have ever had. Opening up the skill tree to where you could, with enough time, fully complete it gave so much more freedom to experiment on the fly. The base building was a novel idea that would have been 1000x better if you could let your settlements naturally develop instead of micromanaging an entire map. It gets so much hate and I simply don't get why. Star Wars Battlefront 2, it was so panned for its greedy microtransactions I never even considered buying it. I downloaded it on Xbox Gamers Pass a few months ago and it's so much fun. It reminded me of the old ones, which I honestly think is all anybody ever wanted. They obviously put some work in to fix their old mistakes. Too bad if they had just come out with the product they have now, it would have probably been an instant classic. Assassin's Creed 3, Revolutionary War and scenery was so awesome. The Legend of Zelda, Phantom Hourglass. Rugrats, Search for Reptar was a genuinely fun, well-made game and I'd play it again today if I could. The first Watch Dogs. Maybe it wasn't everything they promised, but it was still a pretty good game. Best gunplay of the entire franchise. It feels too weird killing everyone as Marcus in the second game. And you weren't supposed to identify with Aiden, dude was messed up. T-Bone was a way more like able protagonist. Plus the missions against default were the best in the series. Spore. Granted, I wasn't aware of the game till after it released, so I didn't know about all the hype and high expectations other people had. It has its issues but it's still quite fun and sunk many hours into it. Spore is a great game, it's just weighed by the fact that if EA didn't cut production when it was 70% finished, it could have been a fantastic game. Mercenaries 2 for PS3. I loved that game, played through it 3x. Terrible online reviews and AMP, if you didn't update the game would freeze forever. The original Mercenaries was one of the most fun games I've ever played. It's probably nostalgic but I fucking loved Mercenaries. Dynasty Warriors. People give me shit all the time for liking DW like you just mash one button. I guess if you went it thinking it was gonna be Tekken I could see how you might be disappointed, but if you go in expecting Double Dragon it's great. It's cheesy and campy and the 1 vs 100 gameplay is super fun. The Godfather. You couldn't tell me I wasn't a mob boss.